So I just learned this town I live in has a social event going on, so I might as well head there. Hey guys, it's me! The real Louie here to bring you gamers some cool gaming trivia, such as, did you know Super Mario Bros. 2 is actually a game named Teknopathetic? Well, being the only little woman in a town full of no-name people does that to you. I love visiting shopping malls. It's literally a huge-ass center full of neat stores and a food court with all kinds of restaurants, except they're all shit. Like, I love Rocky Rococo's as much as the next trans girl with a super niche persona, but if you have a rule where you only sell pepperoni, the most popular pizza topping besides extra cheese on Fridays, that's when I question what in the hell is wrong with you. I've noticed some trends in the malls I've been to, like how since Hot Topic and Spencer's have the same vibes of grungy, rebellious clothing and such, you'll find those two pretty close together. Or how you've got these art galleries featuring random copyrighted characters they definitely don't have the rights to. In fact, I'm betting Jay just found the art they display out from the surface of an image search on Google and printed him out on the nicest paper they have. Actually double that bet because I have a feeling these guys abused the hell out of AI image generation when that got big. But the trend I've seen the most in malls is the retro game stand. By retro they mean, you like Nintendo, right? Well, aren't you looking to free up space in your wallet? These stands sell bootlegs, commercial products made without official authorization from the copyright holders they're using the IPs from. Now the difference between these and fan projects are that the latter is usually made out of love for a property and only intend on adding to other fans' enjoyment of it. Best case scenario, these fan projects can give creators starting ground to blossom into creations that are fully their own. And these fans are smart by not monetizing these so they don't make it seem like they're just profiting off of a series they don't legally own. Usually. But with bootlegs, these are mostly done with a malicious intent, as they're usually done to fool a general consumer into thinking their product is just like, or at least of a similar quality to the official property they're riffing on. And in video gaming, these come in all shapes and sizes. So today, I'm going to take on some bootlegs by looking at them myself. I mean, my first video was about a game that while it was a licensed PS2 game, it could still be considered a bootleg. Let's go back to those retro game stands I mentioned. These usually sell Famiclones, the most common type of bootleg game system. These mimic the hardware of the NES, also known as the Famicom, hence the naming. The shtick with most of these is that instead of having a cartridge slot, these pack a few dozen games onto the system, and market it as having an absurdly high amount of games in one. In reality, the way they reach that high amount is by repeating the games listing on the game selection menu a whole bunch of times. They also use some techniques to pad out the list of technically unique games, such as having multiple instances of game, except they fuck around with some of the assets or have it start on a different level, or both if they're feeling mischievous. You're likely to see these systems pull from the same pool of bootleg games as well. I often see that one game where you try to time your jump so you land on the next moving cloud on YouTuber reviews of these systems. A rather infamous instance of a Famiclone console is often referred to as the Power Player. The main controller also holds the system, making this a plug-and-play console, and it's modeled after the N64 killer. It's quite funny how they didn't even bother to make what would be the center stick an alternate way to use the D-pad. The second controller is modeled after the one for the Sega Genesis, aka Mega Drive, and both controllers' extra face buttons act as turbo A and B buttons, rapidly inputting either by simply holding them down. I've pretty much already explained everything you'll find on the software side of the Power Player. What you see is what you get, though it also comes with a light gun, so there's the possibility there are games that are made for use with the NES Zapper here as well. Now, I have mentioned the set of unauthorized games that you'll often see in multi-game Famiclones, but bootleg games that often have dedicated carts for them are the ones made by development studio Hummer Team. These guys are notable for making some actually pretty high quality stuff in terms of bootleg games, as they don't build their software off pre-existing titles, rather they just use existing properties for what they develop themselves. One such example is Samari, an NES remake of Sonic 1, but the player character's sprites are edited to look like Mario. I mean, it still plays like Sonic, your moveset isn't changed to that of Mario's, it's just swapped sprites. Another example is Kart Fighter, a traditional 2D fighter with the characters featured in Super Mario Kart. We've got all the stars such as Mari, Kinopio, Noko, Yossi, Donkey, and Koopa. If there's any part of this grind you gotta respect though, it's that when notable bootleg studios such as Hummer Team make bootlegs, they're full remakes of next-gen games, such as Final Fantasy VII for the NES. This is a full reimagining of Final Fantasy VII, but in the style of Final Fantasies 1 through 3. And from what I've played, it's not that bad actually. You play this just like you would with any other mainline Final Fantasy game. It's just, at least for me, pretty damn easy. My only nitpick is that one enemy type abuses Cura to fully heal their ally, and even then I haven't even played the original FF7, so that's likely intentional. Overall, this game is actually really good by bootleg standards. Hell, I even think this has earned the title of being a passion project more than just a bootleg. And can you believe that there's a whole spot on the world that thrives off bootlegs of a high quality like this one? My art commissions are open with Cash App as an accepted payment. Contact me on Discord for more information. You can also support me on Patreon for perks such as shoutouts, promotions on your creative work, and special roles in future videos. People in Brazil usually don't get paid enough for extra expenses like modern gaming consoles, so most of them resort to retro and other low-end type systems. The company Tectoy actually made a ton of officially licensed Genesis variations for several years, even going into the 2010s. Tectoy would also make the Zeebo, a digital-only console that's known for their low-end ports of games like Resident Evil 4 and Crash Team Racing, but it wouldn't last long compared to retro consoles being sold in modern-day Brazil. Since there wouldn't really be anyone to continue making games for these consoles long after their end of production, these were supported with unauthorized software. What we mostly see as mere bootlegs over there, the people in Brazil saw as their efforts to continue supporting affordable consoles in a landscape where modern consoles aren't as easily accessible, and that I can commend. In a strange way, I think it actually helped Brazil have a very passionate retro gaming community. I would not be surprised one bit if Brazilian developers made some absolute bangers if you gave all of them access to development for larger scale games. Case in point, Lake Fepard, this guy's from Brazil and he not only made the Sonic fan games before and after the sequel, but also the Spark the Electric Jester trilogy, my favorite indie game series of all time. Honestly, to the Brazilian gaming community, you have my respect. Now let's look at a community of gaming developers that don't have my respect because they make absolute garbage. Mobile game devs, specifically those who develop for Android. Since the Google Play Store is much more lenient on their guidelines than Apple's App Store, you're of course gonna see a lot more slop on the former. I see a ton of games that are just the same auto runner, but it's just a different asset swap from the last. I'm assuming they're all just built off one Unity package as a base or something like that. These make the goddamn data design platforms look like they're completely separate games in comparison. And some of these apps don't even try at all. I remember as a child wanting to play Mega Man powered up really badly, and one day, lo and behold, there was an app with a legally distinct title, but with an icon that was a screenshot of Powered Up's gameplay on the Google Play Store. So after most likely forking over all of my phone's security permissions, I found that after installing it, it was just RetroArch. Except it immediately boots into a PSP emulator running Powered Up really badly. Joy. Not even the fast forward function made it better most of the time, it was just painful to play at all. The really unfortunate thing is, awful developers like the family clone bootleggers all those years ago are all in it for the money and go as far as completely mislead people into installing their game with ads that just showcase gameplay that's completely different from the actual game. The needle pulling puzzles, the platform and barrier trying shit, it's all a trick to get a cheap install out of those who will install their game going off the ads, see that the game's nothing like said ads, then likely uninstall it because the actual gameplay didn't interest them. But it doesn't matter to these developers because it means an extra install to keep their game looking like it's popular. Oh, and a dishonorable mention to Evertale, which is just a generic RPG, but they put all their effort into the ads, which seem to be some kind of massive ARG. Welcome to Bright Void. Ever since you have gained consciousness, you only remember staying here. It's funny because I've seen people who were fed up with these goddamn mobile game ads and have recreated the fake games. So much that the development studio Monkeycraft has done it too with, yeah, you want those games, right? So here you go, now let's see you clear them. It's sort of like a generic isekai, I love it. Yeah, you want those games, right? Compiles a ton of original levels for recreations of these mobile ad games into one major package that focuses on replayability via trying to get a fast time on clearing them. This even got a sequel featuring new game types, and hey, I love this. It's a massive middle finger to shitty mobile devs, and I'm all for it. It just goes to show that even something bad like bootlegs can still have a bit of good to them. Alright, I'm the actual Lynn, so while I'm here, I might as well educate you guys and do a better job than this faker. You all know about Stop and Swap, and
what the hell is a Stop and Swap?
actually, I'm handing it back over to this guy Atlas. They can explain it in a way that won't leave you guys confused as hell.